Another new day begins. Today, Manhwa is back to introduce you to a new series. The story tells of the seemingly happy life of Song Hoon's family. The series promises to bring us a cheerful atmosphere. The introductory scenes are incredibly gentle and peaceful. There's absolutely no drama, and there are no sad farewells at all. And of course, there isn't a hint of tragic despair. Manhwa's recommendation is super trustworthy this time. For others, this life might be very difficult, but for him, he feels incredibly happy. So happy that if he were born again, Song Hoon would still want to live this life. Mina suddenly lets go, causing her to fall backward. Immediately after, Mina raises her leg and wraps it tightly around Song Hoon's neck. She squeezes hard, making him cry out for his dad's mercy. Tapping out. She eagerly turns and asks, "I'm great at locks now. Right, Dad?" He gently pats Mina's head. Of course. Dad can't keep up anymore. A while later, Song Hoon whispers her name. It's late. Mina, let's go to sleep. She whines tearfully. I want to play a little longer. Seeing this, he consoles her. Tomorrow is the weekend, so we'll play as much as we want then. Mina thinks for a moment and then nods. Okay. Because Mina is a good girl. He prays that this simple day will continue tomorrow as well. After some time passes, Song Hoon jolts awake to Mina's desperate call. Dad? She keeps shaking him while yelling, Dad, wake up. Hearing this, Song Hoon reaches out to pat her head. Mina, let's sleep a little longer. Dad will play with you later. She yells out. How can you say that in this situation? From behind, a strange creature suddenly lunges at Mina. Faced with the sudden danger, Song Hoon quickly grabs its head. He uses all his strength to push the bizarre creature back. However, its strength is unusually powerful. Realizing the critical situation, Song Hoon hastily reaches for a wooden plank. He doesn't have time to think and swings the plank straight at the creature's head. The wooden plank pierces straight through its head. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Manhwa channel to support Song Hoon's spirit. Instantly, Song Hoon holds Mina's small body tightly. In that moment, the mirror beside them suddenly shatters. He slowly turns his head to look at it. A sudden chill runs down his spine. Before Song Hoon is a terrifying figure, not human nor animal. In that instant, his entire body seems to freeze. The mirror unexpectedly cracks into many small pieces. From within, the man darts towards Song Hoon. He frantically grabs him and squeezes his neck. Song Hoon immediately swings his leg, locking it around the man's neck. He clenches his teeth, trying to restrain the man. Song Hoon then grabs the man's hair tightly. He uses all his strength and slams his head into the ground. Internally, Song Hoon prays for him to pass out quickly. He grinds his teeth. Pass out quickly, wait. Can he even pass out from this move? Right after, the skin on his neck begins to tear apart. In a flash, Song Hoon uses his hand to rip off the man's head. He sits up with a jolt, panting heavily from exhaustion. Song Hoon's face darkens as a question arises. Did I just kill him? On the ground lies the man's motionless head. A moment later, it suddenly gapes open. His face immediately changes color. Or is he not dead yet? At the same time, Mina rushes into his arms. Daddy, you're so quiet. What's wrong? He quickly hugs her small body. It's okay. I'm sorry, Mina. Sung Hoon bakes outside. A shopping mall. Why am I here with Mina? Thinking about it, he can't help but feel a bit confused. I can't remember anything at all. Suddenly, the zombies appear right before Song Hoon's eyes. Elsewhere, at a French bakery, the zombies are suddenly swaying and dancing to the loud music. He cheerfully steps and whistles with a skilled hip shake. Right after the zombies crazily leap into the air. A moment later, the zombies even sing and shake their hips together. Over here, another zombie dances, all by himself, next to the pastry counter. Instantly, Song Hoon picks up Mina and dashes outside. Behind him, the horde of zombies frantically chase after him. Song Hoon struggles to escape, his face showing extreme terror. Just then, a strange figure appears before him. It tilts its head looking at him. Right in front of Song Hoon, a door with a large exit sign appears. The door suddenly swings wide open. From inside, a horde of zombies pours out. He doesn't hesitate and lunges forward to slam the door shut. Song Hoon cleverly twists the doorknob hard. Then he uses his strength to pull a sofa to block it. After a few preparations, Song Hoon is panting from exhaustion. Before he could even catch his breath, Mina suddenly screams. Song Hoon instinctively turns around. He mumbles under his breath. It's a soldier. Her face turns pale as her lips tremble. What is this? Bae Dong-ho turns to look at Song Hoon. I just don't like it. He quickly makes a judgment. If you've lost your memory, you probably had an accident. Simply put, about 80% of humanity has turned into that thing. Hearing this, he hesitates, then pleads. Ooh, can I use your phone? I want to make sure my wife is safe. Bae Dong-ho replies. That's why we're heading up. Song Hoon becomes suspicious. How do you know my wife's number? Seeing this, the man quickly explains. No, I mean to contact the military base. You need to use a satellite communication device. At Bae Dong-ho's answer, he just stares silently. Right after, Song-hoon once again asks for a favor. I just need one satellite call to my wife. The man agrees without much thought. Sûr. You can make 2 calls if you want. The scene shifts to a room with a broken sign. Song-hoan cautiously presses his ear to the door. What if those things are also on the rooftop? BAE. Dong-ho reassures him. We have guns. So what's there to worry about? Right after he smiles and turns back. Anyway, could you open the door for me? As you can see, my leg is injured. He immediately sets a condition. Cover me. At this moment, Song-hoon suddenly calls her name. Mina. Go hide behind the soldier for a bit, honey. Mina shows a frightened expression. I don't like that man. He immediately comforts her. Oh, come on, I understand. But that soldier is a good guy. After a while, the door emits a screeching sound. As Song-hoon slowly opens it, his eyes quickly scanning the surroundings. On the other side of the door is a horde of zombies walking back and forth. He immediately closes the door and turns to inform them. There are more of them than I thought. As soon as the words leave his mouth, Song-hoon looks down in confusion at the wound in his stomach. His eyes widen with utter horror at this unexpected turn of events. BAE Dong-ho is seen smirking. This plot twist deserves an instant subscription to the Ani Manhwa channel. Everyone, before the man could fire again, Song-hoon had already frantically rushed forward. He quickly grabs the soldier's collar. Then Song-hoon wraps his arm around the back of his neck. Right after, he uses all his strength to slam BAE Dong-ho to the ground. The man's face gradually changes color from being choked and unable to breathe. BAE Dong-ho fires his gun towards Song-hoon's leg. His body staggers and falls backward in pain. Before the man could react, Song-hoon charges like a storm. He immediately grabs the necklace around BAE Dong-ho's neck. Song-hoon yanks the necklace hard. At the same time, BAE Dong-ho frantically pulls the trigger. Bullet after bullet penetrates his body. Song-hoon only has time to let out a painful scream. A moment later, the man seems relentless and continues to fire. His body is now riddled with countless bullet holes. Over here, Mina reaches out wanting to hug Song-hoon. Her face is streaked with tears. BAE Dong-ho ruthlessly kicks his body outside. Song-hoon scrambles to his feet amidst the surrounding zombies. Inside, BAE Dong-ho speaks with a hidden meaning. Don't you want to hear something interesting, buddy? For some reason, children aren't infected by the virus. He continues with delight. Children are being sold for a high price out there. BAE Dong-ho clamps his hand over Mina's mouth, while his mouth won't stop running. These days, humans are just as dangerous as the infected. Even as she cries in fear, BAE Dong-ho shows no mercy. He speaks up once more. Perhaps it has always been this way. Meanwhile, Song-hoon pulls hard on the door. He yells, "The door!" He angrily grips the doorknob, screaming, "Open the door!" A moment later, Song-hoon can't hold back his curses. "Open the door, you bastard!" Meanwhile, his whole body is surrounded and attacked by the zombies. In a flash, Song-hoon is pinned to the ground by them. The zombies frantically tear and claw at Song-hoon's body. They rush him like hungry tigers. At the same time, Song-hoon's arm suddenly shoots up powerfully. With just one hand, Song-hoon forcefully shoves the zombie away. His eyes suddenly light up, his face filled with fury. Right after, Song-hoon mercilessly pulls his mouth wide open. He uses his hands to rip the unfortunate zombie's body apart. Song-hoon drags his tired body forward. His steps heavy. He is seen walking step by step towards the rooftop railing. Song-hoon bravely stands on the highest ledge of the tall building. He bows his head and glances down below with a determined gaze. Meanwhile, BAE Dong-ho is holding Mina tightly and fleeing quickly. From above, Song-hoon's expression changes as he witnesses this scene. His eyes are practically glued to the figure of that wicked soldier. With his last bit of clarity, Song-hoon mouths, "Mina." He then leaps into the air without a single hint of hesitation. From the top of the building, Song-hoon jumps down. A crazy act. He lets out a powerful roar. "Dad's coming." "Mina," the young man exclaims in confusion. "Who? Is that thing falling an infected person?" The other replies, "You still don't get it. What are you talking about?" Bai Dong-ho looks up, catching the figure hurtling down like a meteor. What is this for real? He can't take his eyes off Song-hoon's form. This is the first time I've seen an infected commit suicide. Right then, in that moment, his body slides down below. Song-hoon quickly grabs onto the adjacent wall, his other hand immediately doing the same. Song-hoon's body slowly slides down due to the friction from his hands. A sharp glint appears in his eyes with pupils as red as blood. Song-hoon's fingers dig into the wall so hard that it crumbles. A while later, his whole body falls straight onto the car below. BAE Dong-ho stares towards Song-hoon. It made a lot of noise when it fell, didn't it? At the same time, a zombie suddenly bites the young man's shoulder hard. He turns in shock. "Who?" Song-hoon speeds towards him without any hesitation. Witnessing the scene before him, BAE Dong-ho can't help but feel a little scared. On the other side, the young man moans in agony. "Save me. Leave me behind." Meanwhile, BAE Dong-ho angrily turns his gun towards him, DD, another person warns. How can you just shoot like that? He blatantly ignores them and frantically fires continuously at him. From behind, the group starts to yell, "Hey, hey, hey, hey. If you keep shooting, you might hit something." A while later, he angrily slams the man's head to the ground. "Stop doing stupid things. Why are you using it if you can't hit him? Hey, shoot." The one next to him raises his gun. Understood. Right after, he aims his gun forward, where Song-hoon is running. The scope is aimed right at him. A moment later, the first bullet lodges in Song-hoon's knee. He quickly dodges the second bullet. However, the third bullet once again hits his other knee. The pain instantly shoots through Song-hoon, causing him to scream desperately. The soldier beside him lowers his voice. "Corporal Park, have you ever seen an infected creature so tough and persistent?" His face darkens. "Never." Mina cries and screams. "Dad," while Bae Dong-ho struggles wildly. "Let me go. When we get back to base, you're going to the brig. Over here." Despite the bullets piercing his body, Song-hoon keeps rushing forward. Corporal Park can't help but feel a shiver. There's no way I've ever seen anything like that. Meanwhile, Bae Dong-ho continues to struggle. "Let me go." The man slams his head down again. "Stop struggling, stay still." At the same time, the one next to him points his gun at Song-hoon again. He is seen aiming straight at his head and firing. Song-hoon's body immediately staggers, fresh blood splattering out. In an instant, he regains his senses, his eyes shining with a cold light. Realizing the dire situation, Corporal Park loudly orders, "Grenade." The man next to him fumbles in his pocket. Understood. As soon as the words are spoken, he decisively throws the grenade towards Song-hoon. The metal object is seen rolling a few times on the ground before stopping in front of him. The outside of the grenade starts to crack as white gas emits from it. Instantly, a terrifying explosion erupts, leaving behind a deep crater. Witnessing the scene, Mina painfully reaches out towards Song-hoon. Despite her sobbing, the people beside her just look on with horrified eyes. Returning to Song-hoon, his arm is nearly torn from his body. Song-hoon struggles to breathe. He weakly calls out her name. "Go." Song-hoon's tears flow unconsciously. He murmurs in pain, "Mina." At the same time, the zombies start approaching Song-hoon step by step. They quickly close in on him, each one radiating a thick killing intent. Meanwhile, his arm trembles uncontrollably from the pain. The zombies just stand motionless to observe. Song-hoon, in the blink of an eye, his arm has grown back completely intact. Upon seeing that, the zombie seems a little stunned. At this moment, Song-hoon quickly grabs the phone that fell on the ground. Meanwhile, a familiar voice echoes in his ears. "Daddy, daddy, daddy." The little girl stares at Song-hoon with a pouty face. "Mina's mom and dad. We were supposed to go out and play today. You're always like this, Dad." A while later, he opens his eyes wide. They are shining brightly in broad daylight. Song-hoon can't help but feel confused as he sits up with a start. Song-hoon's face is covered in a cold sweat. He looks down in bewilderment. The arm he thought was severed is still there. From the side, a voice suddenly speaks. "So you're awake." The bald man continues to speak. "I brought you here because you were being treated very roughly." He doesn't forget to reassure Song-hoon. "It's safe here, so don't worry." The bald man sits leisurely by the water. Then he says slowly, "You are too. So sit next to me and enjoy a little fishing." Suddenly, Song-hoon approaches and grabs the bald man's shirt. He looks over in confusion. "What's wrong?" The bald man immediately throws Song-hoon to the ground. "Wait a minute. No matter how much you crave a human body, an old man like me is." The bald man's entire body trembles. He mutters under his breath, "Haha. Wait a minute." Before the bald man can react, he is pulled hard. He hastily shouts, "Stop." Song-hoon is seen using his legs to choke the bald man, while yanking his arm hard. The bald man struggles desperately. My arm, my arm." A moment later, he is frantically punching and kicking the bald man. He covers his head in fear. "Why are you doing this? Just stop for a second." Hearing this, Song-hoon freezes. "It's talking to me." He can't help but feel a bit suspicious. "No. Is it because I can understand it now?" The bald man softly replies, "You're a slow one to realize." Right after, the bald man returns to his fishing. He casually holds up a cigarette and asks, "Since you can speak, does that mean you have all your memories? From when you were human?" Song-hoon doesn't deny it and replies immediately, "Yes. This is urgent. Can you tell me where the nearest military base is?" He hangs his head and says, "It's not hard. Just follow the signs at the intersection. You'll get there soon enough." Hearing that, Song-hoon says cautiously, "Sorry, I understand. I'm sorry for breaking your arm, but it'll grow back soon." The bald man replies wearily, "It seems you still don't quite get it. We don't heal or regenerate automatically like you do." As soon as he finishes speaking, he hesitates for a moment. "We just continue to live in this state." Song-hoon immediately turns to look at the bald man, who is leisurely smoking a cigarette. At this moment, he explains in a low voice, You're also the first one to have memories from when you were human. I don't have memories from when I was human either. Right after, the bald man says cryptically, we used to be human, but it seems we are no longer human. He looks down at the water, where his own face has changed. However, Song Hoon is not afraid. He gets to his feet. Thanks for the help, but I have to go now. I have human memories and super regeneration. My daughter must be waiting. Hearing this, the bald man is a bit surprised. Your daughter, Song Hoon honestly confesses. Yes. Please take me to the other side. He suddenly asks a question. Are you a human? Or one of us? He strains his neck and shouts. What does that even matter? The bald man doesn't explain and continues. You, who possess a human heart, are too dangerous. He continues to ramble on. Just as humans don't easily kill their own kind, we don't easily kill ourselves either. The bald man has to admit to himself, but the way you tried to harm me just now, you are closer to being human than one of us. He appears resolute. You won't die. Just because your spirit is a little broken, if you step on it like that, it will die. Faced with these cryptic words, Song Hoon awkwardly scratched his head. He slowly sat down, not forgetting to ask, how do I get to the other side? The bald man was silent for a moment. Then he continued, I will ask one last time, or you could just forget your daughter and stay with us. Song Hoon replied in a firm voice, I could never do that. Noticing his determination, the man softly warned, that desire of yours to save your daughter will ultimately endanger us, even beyond yourself. The bald man's tone suddenly changed. Just as I predicted, you have to die here. Seeing this, Song Hoon dashed forward. It seems more talk is useless. I'll go even if I have to swim across. I'm a monitor. Only small ripples remained on the water. How pathetic. Instantly, the water's surface began to churn violently. From below, a face emerged. The bald man spoke calmly. I told you so. In a dark room, grotesque figures emerged from the murky black water. At this moment, a veiny hand slowly came out and gripped a zombie's face tightly. In the final frame, Song Hoon decisively crushed its head with his bare hands. In the hazy darkness, the horde of zombies emerged like a virus, spreading everywhere. One of them opened its mouth wide and let out a crazed roar. At the same time, his face darkened, his eyes filled with a vicious malice. The zombies instantly fell silent, none daring to move. Then they dived back into the water, leaving Song Hoon all alone. At this moment, he spun around with incredible speed. In that instant, the horde of zombies swam by, as two pairs of eyes watched. Meanwhile, the bald man's jaw dropped, revealing terrifying jagged teeth. A moment later, he chuckled softly, his eyes crinkling with clear amusement. At this sight, Song Hoon wore a disgusted look. Seeing that smile, I should have broken your other arm. That would have sobered you up. After a while, the bald man carefully lectured, going the right way is more important than going fast. Even if you hurry, you will not find your daughter. Hearing this, he turned to question him. Why are you speaking so informally? The man fell silent, his lips barely moving. Me apologies. Finally, the bald man changed his tone. To be frank, going straight to the military base is not a good choice. The more Song Hoon listened, the more skeptical he became. Why not? He confessed without hiding anything. There is a very dangerous creature over there. In the water, one of them argued. But do we really have to go that far? The one beside him signaled. Didn't you see the captain's arm was broken? Get back in formation for the next move. Back to Song Hoon. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. A dangerous creature. The bald man affirmed again. Yes, a very dangerous creature. At the same time, a zombie quickly grabbed the stairs. It rushed towards Song Hoon. The bald man continued casually. To be more specific, just then the zombie dashed towards him. A foolish move. Song Hoon immediately kicked it in the face, sending it flying far away. He angrily stomped on the zombie. You lure them in with an artistic swim and then ambush them. It seems they haven't learned. The man quickly raised his hands. It's a misunderstanding. Hearing this, Song Hoon questioned loudly. A misunderstanding. It ran straight at us. The bald man explained loudly. Not true. Not all of them possess intelligence like we do. He then continued to elaborate. Some, like you, have special powers. Some only know how to obey commands. And some, like me, have intelligence. At this point, the bald man became serious, while the others are only controlled by hunger and instinct. He paused for a moment, and then explained, it's not rare for them to attack their own kind without realizing it. Perhaps your human scent is stronger, so that's why. Hearing this, Song Hoon glanced at the bald man, his eyes holding a questioning glint. On the other side, his naked body trembled continuously in fear. Amidst the tense atmosphere, the bald man spoke first. Just trust me this once. Look at my arm if you need a reason. He tried to persuade with a trembling tone. Going straight ahead is dangerous anyway. Please let me lead you on a safer path. He suddenly jumped to his feet. I don't care how big or strong the enemy is. Right after, Song Hoon silently made a vow. If they block my way to Mina, I will tear them to pieces. As the words fell, his eyes stared intently at a corner. Song Hone was seen pointing his finger at one of them in the formation. He glared at it, his finger not moving an inch. The zombie instinctively used its hands to shield its body. The scene shifts to a dark cave, gloomy and frightening. At this moment, Song Hone looked up with a cautious expression. Before him was a giant ape. It was chewing on a horde of zombies. Song Hone stood frozen. He carefully surmised, "A gorilla." Song Hone suddenly remembered the bald man's warning. There is a very dangerous creature over there. At the same time, the ape growled, "This is my territory. Don't come in here anymore." Afraid Song Hone wouldn't understand, it roared again, "If you turn back now, I won't chase you." Before the ape could continue, he unexpectedly punched it straight in the face without mercy. Song Hone slammed the ape to the ground. "Sorry about this," but he swung his arm high. "I have to get to Mina as soon as possible." The scene changes to a lively and bustling dance club. Inside, a horde of zombies were cheerfully cheering to the loud music. One of them casually walked through the crowd. It leisurely took over the stage. Right after the zombie tried to grab attention with its wild dance moves, it stuck its butt out and shook it continuously. A sensuelle danse. The zombie didn't stop, but continued to thrust its round bottom. The more it shook its butt, the more excited and frantic it became. Suddenly, the ape charged in from nowhere, crashing the party. It sent the zombies flying in all directions. The ape was like a tornado, sucking them all in. Over here, Song Hone's face winced in pain. Unfortunately for him, the ape was seen pressing down on his neck, then raising its fist high. Right after, it ruthlessly punched Song Hone straight in the face. Before he could counterattack in time, the ape raised its fist again. He calmly observed, "I've definitely seen this online before. How to beat block never animals. When the gorilla charges, lure it in. When it punches, duck quickly under its armpit. Grab its back, then apply a chokehold from behind the animal." At the same time, the ape's fist was already planted on Song Hone's face. He frowned slightly. Ineffective. Meanwhile, the dance club's wall began to crack. The cracks spread quickly and showed no sign of stopping. Right after, the ape and Song Hone plunged downwards. It still angrily and relentlessly punched him in the face. Song Hone suddenly recalled the bald man's cryptic words, "Unlike you, we don't heal or regenerate. We just continue to live in this state." Returning to reality, his eyes suddenly lit up. At the same time, the ape pinned Song Hone's body to the ground. Seeing this, he quickly grabbed its wrist. "Even you are not like me." A moment later, Song Hone used both hands to wrap around the ape's massive arm. After a while, he nonchalantly hugged its arm with his body. A thought flashed in Song Hone's mind. "Your broken arm won't grow back." Seizing the opportunity, he twisted its arm backward. In the silent space, a cracking sound was heard clearly. "Over here." Song Hone excitedly threw the ape's arm into the air. The pain immediately shot through its body, causing it to freeze up. At this moment, he turned to look at the ape, panting heavily. Meanwhile, it began to let out painful groans. The pain caused the ape's face to change color. It turned pale. Seeing this, Song Hone gently cracked his knuckles. "You still have the strength to fight? If so, then I have no other choice." Just as he was about to finish it, a roar came from behind. Song Hone immediately spun around, only to see the ape's children yelling for him to stop. They ran towards it on all fours, at a terrifying speed. Instantly, the ape used its body to hug them tightly in its arms. Witnessing this scene, Song Hone's eyes widened in surprise. His body unconsciously stiffened, almost frozen solid. A moment later, Song Hone suddenly turned and dashed away quickly. He kept reminding himself, "Don't think about anything else. I just need..." Song Hone silently hid, his eyes locked on the military base. "To find Mina. That's it." He quickly scanned his surroundings. 2 guards at the checkpoint. Probably another one inside. Climbing the wall would be the safest. In another scenario, Song Hone suddenly grabbed a zombie. Right after, he used his strength to throw it onto the chain-link fence. A surprise attack. After seizing the opportunity, Hone climbed straight up the zombie's body. The guard turned around at the strange sound he had just heard nearby. He stared blankly ahead. What is an infected person doing in a place like this? Instantly, Song Hone locked the guard's neck tightly and threatened, "Just answer what I ask, and nothing will happen to you. Do you know a soldier named Lee Bae Dong-ho, who enlisted on January 11th, 2023? He didn't answer, and struggled hard. Seeing this, he kindly reminded him, "It's useless. You'll never get a clear shot." Right after, the guard frantically fired his gun into the air repeatedly. A while later, he knelt on the ground, groaning continuously. "You're insane. You will regret this." There are people Song Hone desperately wants to see again right now. His beloved daughter Mina, an innocent and lovely little girl, his beloved wife Seola, who was always by his side. Suddenly, a group of people surrounded Song Hone. The leader roared, "Suspicious person detected, get down now." "What was that gunshot? Are you all right?" Hearing this, his eyes suddenly changed. A strange light emanating from within. Song Hone angrily charged towards the group. "And the one who took my daughter." Seeing him charge crazily, the group was almost frozen in place. Ooh! Before they could react, Song-hoon dashed towards one of the soldiers. He decisively slammed the man to the ground. Damn it, the soldier's throat was being crushed by Song-hoon. This bastard, he let out a savage scream. Give me back my daughter. The soldier being choked by Song-hoon had blood pouring from his nose. Looking pathetic, at the same time he growled softly. Where's my Mina? In the midst of the tense atmosphere, Song-hoon screamed crazily. Where is she? The officer suddenly pointed the muzzle of his gun at his head. He questioned him. Hey, why are you looking for your daughter here? Song-hoon slowly stood up while accusing. That bastard kidnapped my daughter. He turned to glare at the officer, his voice echoing throughout the area. I only came here to find her. At this moment the man didn't answer but questioned Song-hoon. Your eyes aren't normal. Are you human? At the unexpected question, he remained silent without answering a word. In that moment, the bald man's voice echoed in Song-hoon's ear. Or are you one of us? Or one of the others? Back in reality, he brazenly ignored it. I don't care about that. As I said, I'm only here to find my daughter. Hearing this, the officer calmly replied. Do you think I would believe that? At his reaction, Song-hoon nearly lost his mind. He continued in a loud voice. That guy said he would sell Mina. There are people willing to pay a high price. Hearing this, the officer tilted his head with a confused look. What do you mean? He immediately made an accusation. I met that guy before. If you don't believe me, check his tags. I took it during our fight. He quickly sat up, and at the same time retorted, Commander, you don't need to listen to a liar like him. He dared to attack our base. That is unforgivable. Right after, the soldier anxiously pulled the trigger. He screamed in panic. Why isn't my gun firing? The soldier became more and more frantic, his hand repeatedly squeezing. Fire, damn it. At the same time, the officer stepped forward and snatched the gun from the soldier's hand. He looked up in confusion. What's wrong with my gun? At this point, the officer sternly questioned. Are you really a corporal? Isn't the safety still on? And why were you trying to shoot when we're this close? Instantly, Sumin raised his hand and stepped forward. Private First Class Sa Sumin. Commander, I have something to report. Hisu yelled, trying to stop him. Hey! The officer greeted loudly. What is it? He stood straight and stepped forward, his voice trembling with tension. I don't know if this man is telling the truth or not, but Corporal Lee Bae Dong-ho did bring a child back from the mall. She had braided hair and was wearing a pink sweatshirt. Hearing this, Song-hoon immediately yelled. That's her. He lunged forward and grabbed Sumin's collar. That's my Mina. Where is my Mina? He quickly spoke, trying to keep the peace. Please calm down. It's true, but Corporal Lee said he knew where the child's family was and went to return her himself. Song-hoon glared and roared like a madman. I am her father. What nonsense are you talking about? Sumin cautiously interjected. If you went with Corporal Lee, you might still find her now. I also saw him contact them before. Bae Dong-ho suddenly screamed. Sasumin, Corporal Ji Hisu. Stop talking nonsense. Arrest that bastard. That's an order. Hurry up. Song-hoon released the man, his gaze shifting to the other man. That's right. You're dead, the officer shouted in a stern voice. Enough yelling. We are listening to you, aren't we? If you don't cooperate, then you're just delaying the search for your daughter. Hearing this, his body froze. Slightly thoughtful, he stepped closer to Song-hoon. I hate to admit it, but I think I understand what's happening now. Right after, he loudly ordered. Everyone on today's mission, along with Corporal Lee, step forward now. He quickly stepped forward. Private First Class Sa Sumin. The person next to him followed suit. Corporal Kim Hisu. He took a step forward, his voice echoing in the tense space. Everything Private Sumin said is true. We rescued a little girl from the picnic shopping center, the officer yelled, his voice full of disbelief. I never heard a report about that. Hisu added in a low voice. He said things would get complicated if he brought her back to base, so he would just return her to her parents. Sumin interjected with an accusation. This isn't the first time he's done that without reporting it. Hearing this, Bae Dong-ho screamed. You filth. That was just a preemptive action. The officer unapologetically turned to question him. Even if it was a preemptive action, you still neglected to report it. He angrily rushed towards the group. Sa Sumin. You useless bastard. Daring to blame your superior. Blaming your own comrade. Bae Dong-ho hissed through his teeth. You deserve the death penalty. Song-hoon suddenly punched him straight in the face. A devastating blow. Bae Dong-ho's body was seen collapsing to the ground. How pathetic. His eyes bulged as fresh blood streamed from his face. Over here, he just glanced with a hateful look. You deserved it. The scene changes to the military base's bathroom, looking very clean. Inside, Sumin suddenly bowed. He spoke cryptically. That's impressive. Song-hoon was suddenly confused. What, huh? Sumin carefully observed his body. I mean, there are no wounds, especially for someone who caused such a scene. A moment later, he cautiously stood up. Please understand it's part of the procedure. Too many people have hidden bites and transformed later. Right after, Suman handed him an eye patch. Besides, the commander told you to wear this. Song Hoon immediately reacted. I may look like this, but I'm not blind. Seeing this, he quickly explained. That's not the issue. Walking around with eyes like that, it's strange no one has attacked you yet. Honestly, I'm surprised you've survived until now. Hearing this, he looked down at the eye patch in his hand. A while later, Song Hoon walked quickly down the base's long hallway. At the same time, Suman softly announced, when Corporal Lee wakes up, the court-martial will begin. Then they will start the operation to rescue your daughter. Based on the intel, he quietly observed him. This guy, if he was with that ugly bastard, Song Hoon suddenly became suspicious. Is he one of them too? I have a lot of questions, but finding Mina must come first. Right after, he asked, this court-martial or whatever, what exactly is suddenly the whole space shook violently. Song Hoon couldn't help but feel a bit suspicious. What just happened? Suman shouted a warning. Be alert. Stay away from the windows. From the other side, a voice came through the radio. Calling base. Calling base. This is the logistics team. Corporal Lee is throwing grenades and firing his gun. Requesting backup. Hearing this, he was still in shock. What happened? Suman was just as confused. I don't know. He was supposed to be in the infirmary. He peeked outside. The scene was utter chaos. He only saw a vehicle speeding towards the gate. Suman couldn't help but shudder. No way. Before he could react, Song Hoon suddenly leaped onto the windowsill. He decisively jumped out, right in front of Suman's eyes. In a flash, Song Hoon's body landed on the ground. Completely safe, he looked up into the distance, where Bae Dong-ho was fleeing. Immediately, the vehicle's door slammed open, making a loud noise. Without hesitation, he crazily chased after it. At a terrifying speed, Song Hoan silently resolved, if I lose track of them again, it will be a huge pain. He gritted his teeth. I can't let that happen. I have to save Mina. From behind, Suman drove up on a motorcycle. He loudly advised, Sire, please stay at the base. I will bring Corporal Lee back. Suman's face was then seen to suddenly change. Full of astonishment, he looked back in confusion. What are you doing? It's dangerous. Song Hoan kept urging. Come on, hurry up. Seeing this, Suman yelled in a harsh tone. It'll be slower if we both go. He argued back stubbornly. It might be slow, but it's still faster than walking. A voice came through the radio. To all units. This is the commander, who is pursuing on that motorcycle. He yelled into the radio over the howling wind. Sire, Private First Class Sa Suman, reporting. I believe the person fleeing in the pickup truck is Corporal Lee Bae Dong-ho, and I am currently in pursuit, the officer reminded loudly. Private Suman, we will send reinforcements shortly. A moment later, the radio went silent. He became anxious. The signal is breaking up. A few minutes later, the officer's voice crackled through. Capture and bring him back. Urgent. As the signal broke up, he didn't forget to remind. Priority. Hearing that, Suman gripped the handlebars tightly. Yes. As the word fell, the wheels screeched on the street. He yelled aggressively. Understood, sir. In a flash, the two of them had caught up to Bae Dong-ho's vehicle. Sumin asked loudly, Can you shoot out the tires? Song Ho nodded in response. I've hit much harder targets than this. He decisively ordered. Use the rifle on my back. Right after, Suman ducked down so he could aim. He squinted his eyes, trying to aim straight at his target. The bullets were seen being blown off course by the wind, unable to hit. Seeing this, Sumin carefully reminded him, Hold on tight. Song Ho softly replied, Just one more shot and I'll get a feel for it. As soon as the words left his mouth, he suddenly turned the bike sharply. À risque manœuvre. Instantly, the gun in Song Ho's hand flew out of his grasp. Suman immediately leaped up and grabbed the gun. With incredibly fast reflexes, he ducked down. While pointing the gun forward, Suman's eyes narrowed, his brow furrowed with tension. A moment later, the muzzle was aimed straight at the tire. However, the bullet missed once again. Song Ho hastily jumped down. Give it here. I already told you I'm a sharpshooter. Suman immediately retorted. Just wait. This isn't my usual rifle. So just, right after, he turned around, raised the gun, and pulled the trigger. This time, the bullet only hit the back of the car, having no effect. Noticing something was wrong, the car immediately swerved in another direction. From behind, Suman and Song Hoan hastily chased after them. In a flash, the car he was driving slid across the ground. Over here, he stared with wide-eyed astonishment at the scene. From the front, Bae Dong-ho suddenly jumped out of the car. His hand was seen gripping a grenade tightly. Immediately, Bae Dong-ho threw the metal object towards the group. Back to Suman. He decisively pointed the gun straight. Witnessing this scene, a flicker of panic appeared in Song Ho's eyes. In the blink of an eye, a bullet lodged itself right in the center of the grenade. Right after, they exploded, smoke and dust filling the air. How impressive. Bae Dong-ho was nearly fuming. He looked up, his eyes blazed with light, filled with fury and hatred. Right after, Song Hoan furiously rushed towards Bae Dongho. Suddenly, a bright light shone straight into his face, blinding him. At this moment, a car crashed straight into Song Hoan. His entire body was sent flying into the air. Song Hoan's body lay crumpled on the ground. The others poured out of the car. At the same time, Suman peeked out to observe them. A quickly surmised, "Are these the guys who worked with Corporal Lee?" Unarmed, including those inside the car, at least 7 people. Too many for me to handle alone. A thought flashed in Suman's mind. Maybe I should fire a warning shot and stall for reinforcements. No, I can't count on that. Reinforcements might not come. Is Song Hoan okay after taking a hit like that? He isn't. He must be seriously injured. Thinking this, he gulped nervously. If the truck gets far enough away, I'll hide between the buildings. That's the best I can do right now. Over here. Bae Dongho's group's car started to move. From behind, Suman was extremely cautious. Just a little more. Don't rush. Wait until the truck gets far enough away. Just as he was focused on his plan, a figure suddenly appeared. Sumin couldn't help but shiver. I was so focused on Corporal Lee that I forgot something obvious. If I make this much noise, the infected will swarm in. A terrifying sight. In another scene, the officer was lecturing. As you all know, killing the infected is nearly impossible. In operations, avoiding them is the best strategy. But if you have to face them, you must damage their brains. He spoke in a low voice, his voice echoing through the room. That will temporarily stop their movement. And if you sever the nerves in their cervical spine, in that moment, the infected will no longer be able to move. At this point, the officer's tone suddenly changed. If you happen to encounter many infected alone, he emphasized each word loudly. The only way is to commit suicide with a grenade. In that moment, Suman gripped the grenade in his palm. Not yet. Not yet, his mind screamed. I have to detonate it when they are most concentrated. Thinking this, Sumin's eyes suddenly lit up. Then at least Mr. Song Hoan. He subconsciously turned around. A strange sight appeared. Then, he saw the zombies crazily dancing with piles of entrails. Suman's face darkened. Am I going insane? He stared at them in confusion. Right. It's not unreasonable to face death. And yet, Suman absent-mindedly pinched his own cheek to make sure he wasn't dreaming. However, he was still in shock. Seeing they weren't desperately trying to eat me. Could these be high-level infected with intelligence? Why are they acting like this? Thinking this, Suman's eyes widened. He kept questioning himself. The infected even have expressions. But what is this? Their eyes crave for something. That desperate gesture. Suman stared blankly at the man dancing frantically. He was almost dumbfounded. That's not just a pre-eating ritual. Right after, Suman cautiously made a guess. It's like standing on the brink of death. In that moment, the zombies seemed to be screaming. Save me. Not yet. I don't want to die yet. Please. There are still so many people I haven't eaten. Please don't kill me. His eyes were glued to the bizarre scene before him. Why are they dancing like this? At the same time, the bald man suddenly appeared before Suman. He was just silent, his eyes filled with thought and calculation. Behind him, Song Hoan's body trembled continuously. He was furious. He looked up, staring straight at the bald man with cold eyes. Over here, the man just stared at Song Hoan without saying anything. Suddenly, his eyes blazed with light. It was a strange light. At the same time, the bald man suddenly took off his hat to reveal a completely bald head. In another scene, a zombie chuckled. Let's be content with surviving. I definitely heard a human voice, so I came. A while later, their footsteps suddenly stopped. Something is wrong. Sumin couldn't help but feel a bit confused. Why are the infected running away? Are you okay? At this moment, Song Hoan asked blankly. Where am I? Hearing this, he was a bit stunned. Did he lose his memory from the shock? Suman honestly explained. I was chasing Corporal Lee, Bae Dongho. I lost him because some troublemakers appeared at the last minute. Instantly, Song Hoan clutched his head and groaned. Sumin quickly reached out to hold him. Are you okay? He suddenly remembered a memory. That's right. I was chasing him on a motorcycle. I can't believe I lost him. At the same time, Suman's eyes suddenly darted forward. Instantly, he pointed the gun straight. Stop. 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 If you move, I'll shoot. At this moment, a sweet voice reached Song Hoan's ear. Is this a manhunt? The woman with desperate eyes begged. Please help us. A while later, the sky was gradually covered by darkness. Night fell. Inside, he softly questioned. Were the people with you attacked by the infected? The woman nodded honestly. Yes. We had a van, but I don't know how to drive. Please take the child and me to our shelter. Hearing this, Song Hoan immediately refused. I'm sorry, but I can't waste any more time. Seeing this, she desperately pleaded. Please, I'm begging you. If we continue like this, the child and I will die. At the woman's pleading expression, he glanced towards the child. Song Hoan squeezed his eyes shut with hesitation. It's a difficult decision. After a moment of hesitation, He gave an order. Private Suman, please take the wife and child to their shelter. I will go find my daughter. He turned curiously. How are you going to find her? You don't even know where she went. Do you? A determined look flashed in Song Hoon's eyes. He ordered in a loud voice. Tell me everything about the type of car. The license plate. Any identifying features. I will find her no matter what. Faced with his determination, Sai spoke up to stop him. A white 8-seater van. No. They all have a skull centipede tattoo. No. Finding them alone is impossible. Your memory is not intact right now. At the same time, the woman stepped closer. The people with the skull centipede tattoos kidnapped your daughter. He nodded in confirmation. Yes. Do you know anything? She confessed without hiding anything. Of course I do. My child was also kidnapped by them. Hearing this, Song Hoon wore an expression of disbelief. I can't believe it, he hastily asked. Do you know where they are? The woman didn't confirm but quietly speculated. I did before. Maybe your daughter is at our shelter. Song Hoon exclaimed. What? Her voice echoed in the heavy atmosphere. As you can probably guess, the reason for kidnapping children is human trafficking. We buy back the children to rescue them. We just bought a few yesterday. He took a step forward, a glimmer of hope in his heart. Mina. Is there a girl named Mina? With purple hair, wearing a pink sweatshirt. The woman immediately replied, I don't know. Hair and clothes can be changed or replaced. It would be better if you went to see for yourself. Right after she softly suggested. It's not too late to go to their base after that. Song Hoon remained silent, then nodded slightly. I understand. At the same time, Suman interjected. You need to think carefully. Following a stranger is a huge risk. At the warning, the atmosphere suddenly fell silent. A risk. If it means I can save Mina, then it's no problem at all. Meanwhile, the car slowly drove up the steep road. Moving forward, the group entered a strange base together. Where is this place? Another person approached with a cold expression. No matter how many times I save you, there are no exceptions to the entry procedures. The woman nodded slightly. You're right, I can't do it. So please do it for me. Song Hoon suddenly called out. Private Suman. He turned around in confusion. Yes, sir, he asked cautiously with his naked body. Is this done everywhere? Suman replied monotonously. It's like a security check at the airport. If the infected get inside the base, it would be a very big problem. Right, down below. The inspector commented. Impressive. He nonchalantly boasted. It's just luck that I didn't get a scratch in this mess. A moment later, he looked up straight at Song Hoon with a serious expression. He was momentarily confused. Sia, are you talking about the wound? His face suddenly turned red. At the man's expression, Song Hoon's face turned pale, his lips barely moving. I don't have one. A while later, the man's voice rang out sternly. That's enough. Why haven't you taken off your eye patch? As he finished speaking, the man bluntly reached towards Song Hoon. He quickly explained, nothing was strange to see. But the man kept reaching. You're suspicious, like you're hiding something. Which is why I really must see it once. Sumin instinctively felt a wave of panic. If he sees those eyes, then we're finished. The two began to argue, with the man insisting, I've even taken off my own underwear. What could I possibly be hiding? I already said there are no exceptions to the entry procedures, so take it off. He quickly grabbed his opponent's hand. What do you think could possibly be hidden under this eye patch when I've even put down my gun? The man suddenly pointed his gun at Suman. Whether it's a small matter is for me to decide, he threatened in a loud voice. If you want to live, then you should behave properly. Instantly, Song Hoon bluntly grabbed the barrel of the gun. Right after, he decisively grabbed the man's shirt. Song Hoon was seen spinning once and simultaneously retrieving the firearm. A moment later, he swung his leg straight into the man's hip. Song Hoon decisively kicked him hard, sending the man tumbling to the ground. The man was suddenly overcome with confusion. What are you doing? Song Hoon glared at the man. You were the one who drew your gun first. I have no intention of harming anyone, because if I did, your head would already be smashed. Hearing this, the man yelled in a high voice. You're making everything more difficult. You know that. The man scrambled to his feet while questioning. Wouldn't all of this be resolved if you just took off your eye patch? He continued to hiss through his teeth. What will you do if I keep pressing like this? Are you going to throw all of us out? Right after that, the man delivered a threat. If you don't want to die, then you'd better take off your eye patch. Song Hoon scanned his surroundings, assessing the situation. His mind raced. 3 armed elderly men. Using my rapid regeneration ability, subduing them wouldn't be hard, but if it comes to that, everyone will know I'm not a normal human. I must avoid that situation. Just like that, a drop of sweat rolled down his cheek. Right at that moment, the girl from before opened the door and walked in. What is everyone doing? He is the benefactor who saved me. No, this guy won't take off his eye patch when we tell him to. Hearing this, she walked forward to question him. Why won't you take that eye patch off? We just need to confirm you're not infected. On the side, the old man gulped nervously while watching him intently. For a moment, the entire room fell silent, At this point, Song Hwan slowly took off the eye patch. He kept that eye squeezed shut. I'm sorry, sir. This eye of mine went blind in an accident. It's a complex of mine, so I kept it hidden. After hearing this, the group left feeling annoyed. If you had just said that from the beginning, this would have been over easily. We will prepare a place for you to stay, so just go to sleep for now. He immediately explained, It's okay, I just need to check if my child is here. Suddenly, the old man looked at him angrily and shouted, Hey, are you trying to wake up all the sleeping children? When I say sleep, you sleep. Suddenly, Song Hwan was scolded into standing, stunned on the spot. Then the girl also looked at him and said, I'm sorry, the elderly have their stubbornness. So they get angry when things don't go their way. But you are also partly to blame. No, I also handled it poorly. Song Hwan stammered out, As you said, sir. I will wait until morning. A short while later, Sumin walked into the room. Song Hwan was already waiting there. Sumin walked over to him and spoke. I think we should take turns keeping watch every 2 hours. This made him a little suspicious. What? Is that necessary? He just replied coldly. I told you before, following strangers always carries a risk. Being a little careful is never a bad thing. Hearing that, Song Hwan immediately agreed. That's right. You sleep first. I'm not tired. Sumin continued. Then I will take the first watch. Please wake me up in 2 hours. After that, he lay down and went to sleep, while he sat thinking deeply in the quiet space. Song Hwan's heart was in constant turmoil. Thinking about it, I'm not sleepy at all. Perhaps it is because I'm worried. Or maybe, as he thought this, he unconsciously raised his hand to his mutated eye. Then Song Hwan stood up straight. Anyway, since I'm not sleepy, I might as well go for a little walk. Suddenly, his eyes widened, as he unexpectedly remembered he was on watch duty. Then Song Hwan used a marker to draw an eye on the drooling, sleeping Sumin. There. This should look like I'm awake. Outside, the sky was pitch black as the moonlight shone down below. As soon as Song Hwan stepped outside, he came face to face with the little girl from earlier. He immediately took notice and felt a little confused as to why the little girl was not asleep and was here instead. The little girl was holding a ball and stared back at him with wide eyes. Unexpectedly, the little girl threw the ball in her hand toward him. Then the little girl smiled cheerfully. Mister, I'm over here. Song Hwan walked over and gently patted her head. We will play ball next time, okay? It is late, so we should go to sleep now, right? The little girl whined. I heard that you're leaving tomorrow. I heard everything. He awkwardly patted his head. Then just 10 minutes, is that okay? Yes. The ball began to be tossed back and forth along with his question. What is your name? The child excitedly caught the ball and answered him. Myung. Go Myung. 7 years old. As soon as he heard, Song Hwan thought it was a coincidence. 7 years old was the same age as his Mina, and so the man and the little girl happily played together. My daughter is the same age as Mijang. So let's have the three of us play together later, okay? I want to play with you more. The sound of their conversation echoed through the night sky. Not long after, Song Hwan stopped and went over to Mijang. I think 10 minutes have passed, so let's go to sleep, Mijang. But the child was very reluctant. Can't we play just a little longer? Then he picked the little girl up into his arms. No more. It's time for bed, I will take you to your mom. Surprisingly, Mijang revealed, but I don't have a mother. This stunned him for a moment, as he recalled when he first met the woman. Wasn't that woman her mother? That's right, she only said a child but never said it was her daughter. So she must be one of the children they had rescued. At this point, Mijang was silent for a moment. She looked up at him with innocent eyes. Mister. She then pressed herself into his embrace. I want to sleep with you tonight. You are like a dad, so I like you a lot. For a moment, Song Hwan was silent, not answering with a single word. Memories of his time with his family suddenly flooded back. When the family of three were gathered together, a playful Mina crawled under the blankets. He watched the mischievous girl sneaking in here. What is wrong with our princess? I want to sleep together too. Armina, you're about to be an elementary school student. Elementary school students are all grown up, so let's just sleep together until then. Mina's face looked incredibly happy. I like using Dad's arm as a pillow, even though it is a bit high. Returning to reality, Song Hwan looked affectionately at the child beside him. The little girl was sleeping soundly, with her eyes closed. Seeing this, Song Hwan also smiled happily. A little while later, the sky began to brighten and sunlight streamed into the room. Puffy white clouds drifted across the blue sky. At this point, Song Hwan had gone down to the group's dining area. A person served him a bowl of soup, telling him he could come back for more. Sumin was also there getting his food. Asking the girl if they grew vegetables in the garden, she cheerfully replied that while they grew some, they also foraged from the mountains as the elderly were experts on wild plants. Afterward, Song Hwan and Sumin walked to their seats, agreeing that while the group seemed like good people, they worried that with mostly elderly members, surviving an emergency would not be easy. The two sat opposite each other and discussed the plan, noting that everyone would gather at 8 o'clock for roll call, which would be a chance to see if Mina was there, with one of them adding, Yes, I really hope she is there. Song Hwan heartily ate the food they gave him. He glanced at Sumin. On second thought, I still haven't properly thanked Suman for helping us so much. As soon as he finished the thought, his eyes suddenly filled with horror. At some point, Suman had already slumped onto the table. The food must have been drugged. Next, Songhwan also began to feel lightheaded. He looked around as everyone here was staring at him with sinister eyes. The woman's true colors were finally revealed as she flashed a bizarre, amused smile. Sumin's words suddenly flashed through Songhwan's mind. I told you before, following strangers always has its risks. A little caution is never a bad thing. He looked at them with a desperate, dizzy expression. Damn it, the woman's smile stretched wider, almost from ear to ear. Right after that, Songhwan also collapsed onto the table. After an unknown amount of time, he groggily opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was a woman with her back turned to him. She slowly turned around, and it was clear she was not human. It was gnawing on a person's leg. Instantly, the zombie opened its mouth and lunged forward. Its hand nearly reached Songhwan, but fortunately, this zombie was also chained up. His pupils contracted. Its hand was right in front of his eyes. Songhwan quickly kicked it with his foot. Damn it, Suman next to him had also woken up. They were both tied up like pigs for slaughter. It's okay. It just barely can't reach us. It'll get tired and finish what it was eating. Hearing this, he asked a series of confused questions. Where is this place? This definitely isn't a good situation, but maybe it's not the worst either. If they wanted us dead, they've had plenty of chances. Sumin slowly answered him. We just need to figure out what they want. Negotiate. And then escape. Just then, the woman flung the door open and walked in. That's right. If I wanted to kill you, I've had plenty of chances. At dawn, I was so worried about what those old geezers were planning to do. Songhwan's eyes widened in horror as he heard her ramble on. Those useless old men can't even do what they're told properly. She wore a twisted expression as she held a large meat cleaver. Because they're old folks who could die any day. They really only think one day ahead. It's truly worrying. They don't know how to wait for the right time to slaughter. Hearing this, Suman asked confusedly. What does that mean? She slowly walked over to the zombie and turned a round object. I wonder what that could possibly mean. He stared at her and then tried to negotiate. I won't ask what has happened here so far. Just come with me to the military base, and you'll be able to stay there safely. The woman suddenly moved closer to the two of them. I know the military prioritizes rescuing children, which means there are also lower priorities. She laughed like a madwoman. You don't think we've never tried going to the military? If you're thinking about negotiating, how about you think about cooperating with us instead? Songhwan was tied up tightly. He looked down at her and asked, was the part about rescuing children a lie too? But all he got was a confirmation. That part was true. His face had turned pale at this point. Mina, is my daughter really here? As soon as he finished speaking, the woman's expression froze on the spot. Then she pursed her lips, trying to stifle a laugh. The woman suddenly let out a huge laugh, laughing until her stomach hurt. This drove Songhwan even further into despair. She looked at him with contempt. You really think I gather children because I'm some kind of saint like Jesus or Buddha? Then Songhwan voiced his question. Why exactly are you gathering children? She then asked him back. Have you heard the story that eating small children will prevent you from being infected? The woman knelt beside the zombie. So I thought if I fed my daughter children's flesh, maybe she would become human again. It was gnawing hungrily on a human arm. She watched it eat with relish. Smiling hair sick smile. At this moment, Suman also spoke up. Those are baseless words. Please stop now. She slowly stood up. Baseless. Yes, to you it must seem like foolish behavior. Suddenly, she looked straight at Songhwan. But look at this man. Watch him struggle for his clearly dead daughter. He was staring in shock at the ball lying on the floor. For a moment, Songhwan's eyes widened in disbelief. The image of Mijong from last night, playing happily with him, suddenly flooded back. Then he hesitantly uttered. You, Songhwan asked with a sliver of hope. Have you killed all the children here? She answered him coldly with her twisted logic. I just fed my daughter. It was just an unavoidable sacrifice. Subscribe to the Manhwa channel now to see what's next. After hearing that, Songhwan's entire body trembled uncontrollably. Where is Mijong? Hearing that, she repeated blankly. Mijong, who, realizing something, she let out a long sigh. Then she inhumanely uttered. So that was the brat's name. Hearing this, he furiously ground his teeth. At the same time, she slammed the blade straight down into the middle of Songhwan's head. Drops of blood rained down from the wound. Suman, witnessing this scene from the side, turned pale. The woman, unlike him, had her face spattered with blood, but wore a smile of pleasure. A stream of memories flooded Suman's mind. At that time, someone was yelling at him. Hey Suman, are you planning on slacking off as a private? Private Suman. No sir, you had so many chances. An image of the suggestion box appeared. Back then, in the tall skyscraper, Suman was chatting with other soldiers. Corporal Lee Bae Ong Ho didn't report to the base. He then replied, has the army gotten that much better? This crazy private dares to talk to a corporal. He immediately felt guilty. I'm sorry. The sound of conversation filled the car under the innocent eyes of the child. This useless guy. What would happen if we took the child to the base? We would find her parents, or if not, the base would protect her. Lee Bae Ong Ho angrily yelled. How long would it take to find them? Are we going to hand out flyers? And even if we find them, the procedures will get complicated if they come to the base. You useless bastard. He glanced at the other soldier. Right, Hisu. Yes. That's right. Suman's face darkened as he listened to his words. The world is in this state, so they even accept those who should have been exempted. I'm sorry. Suman stopped thinking as in another memory. Hisu stared at him wide-eyed. I thought he was just good at shooting. What did you do before? Suman just casually replied. I was a ring fighter. So that's why you're so good at catching the infected each season. But does that even matter? No. Suman had stopped thinking. It seemed not just him, but everyone had stopped thinking, and was moving like parts in a machine. Then when he met Songhwan, this bastard kidnapped my daughter. At that time, he had a gun pointed at his head but showed no fear. I just came to find my daughter. Suman silently glanced over at Hisu. Just a part in a machine. He regretted staying silent at that moment, but it had already happened. Suman raised his hand and spoke up. Private Suman. Commander, I have something to report. Hey, what is it? He stood straight and reported clearly. I don't know if what that man said is true, but Corporal Lee Bae Ong Ho did bring a child back from the mall. Suman was truly nothing more than a part in a machine. At that time, his hand was trembling uncontrollably as he tried to confess his mistake, accept punishment, and maintain his human dignity through atonement. Returning to the present, his pupils were contracting in terror. But, the sick woman was sitting in front of him. Snap out of it. Sumin desperately wondered. How did things turn out this way? His eyes were empty without a single glimmer of light. Someone in the group suddenly spoke. Don't do that, let's try to get along. Who knows, I might let you stay at our place. I think it would be nice to have at least one young man around. Suman lowered his head. I was too complacent. He remembered being the one who warned Songhwan. You have to think carefully. Following a stranger carries a big risk. He said it himself and then ate food from strangers without suspicion. At this moment, Sumin fell into despair. No. If I had realized my mistake even a little sooner, this wouldn't have happened. The woman looked blankly at his trembling body. What's this? Are you crying? She immediately raised her voice. This guy is crying. Everyone come look. A man crying over something like this. Then she amusedly grabbed his hair. Suman pleaded relentlessly. I'm sorry. But she didn't care in the slightest. What did we say? Didn't we say we'd figure out what they want? Negociata. And then escape. With one hand, she knocked him to the ground, saying that if you followed us to the army, we would keep you safe and protect you. Go back to acting tough like before. Feet stomped all over Suman. With bastards like this as soldiers, no wonder the country is in this state. He just continued to cry in despair. I'm sorry. His eyes were dazed as tears streamed down. I'm sorry. Suddenly, Suman uttered a sentence that confused her a little. Mr. Songhwan. The whole group froze for a moment. I had so many chances. I could have written a conscientious letter. Or I could have shot Corporal Lee Bae Ong Ho earlier. It was because of the army. Because of a superior's order. I had no other choice. All of them were excuses. The old man frowned, looking at him, muttering nonstop. Captain, this guy seems to have lost his mind. It's not unreasonable in the current situation. If anything, it seems like he's held on for a long time. Just then, a piercing scream rang out, catching her attention. Suman, who was blaming himself, also looked toward the source of the sound. Several people were staring in horror at the scene before them. Songhwan's bare skeleton had reawakened and was regenerating its body. The screams continued one after another. Songhwan tried to sit up with his freshly stripped body. What is that thing? He opened his mouth wide and inside was a pitch-black abyss. The old man and the woman were terrified. It's a monster. Don't just stand there, shoot it quickly, you foolish old men. Then bullet after bullet rained down on his body. Over here, Suman stared blankly at the scene before him. Mr. Songhwan. At this moment, he slowly stood up without a single injury from the bullets. Impossible, his body is regenerating. I've never heard or seen anything like that. Someone do something. Suddenly, Suman remembered a time before, when Songhwan was chasing the car. He had shot him several times, but it had no effect at all. No way. His pupils began to contract. No way. Mr. Songhwan was infected that whole time. At this moment, Songhwan was like a true monster. He staggered to his feet, growling, terrifying sounds. I need to get home. Green veins popped out all over Songhwan's body from rage. Many guests have arrived. Don't forget to like and follow the Manhwa channel, everyone.